Hello Summoner, welcome back to another ProGuides video. My name is Nathan Ng, and today we're going to be talking about the 10 best solo carry champions on patch 12.4. These are the champions that are overtuned enough to hard carry games and are considered safe to blind pick, with little to no bad matchups that can completely shut you down. Do note that the champions in this video are generally the most meta picks for their role, and as a result, most of them are picked or banned pretty frequently. If you're looking for champions to play that are much less contested, check out our top 3 champions in main series. The champions in those videos are still strong enough to carry with, but they're low in both pick and ban rate, meaning that you're much more likely to get your hands on them. We'll be starting things out in the top lane with Riven. Despite her being a top tier champion for several patches, and that only being more so the case since the Bruiser item changes, Riven has been entirely overlooked by Riot yet again. She's pretty hard to pick up, but once mastered, she's an incredibly powerful 1v9 champion. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say that she may be the best champion in the game at the moment when it's in the right hands. The thing about a good Riven is that there's really no counter. They know how to deal with even the hardest of lanes, and once they make it to 2 or 3 items, there's no way to fully shut her down. Her biggest strength is her versatility. Riven is stuck in one specialized role. While most bruisers are good at teamfighting or split pushing, Riven is very strong at both. Learning her will definitely take a lot of time, but if you're serious about climbing, then she's worth the investment. Whether you're trying to learn to abuse the broken champions on this list, or how to really deal with them when you end up on the wrong side of the matchup, if you really want to speed up that process, you should check out ProGuides.com. We have courses from all your favorite streamers and pros, like Core JJ, Aframu, and Nick Smithy, to really help you understand how to play your role. And if you want a more personalized experience, we have coaches available 24/7 ready to help you guys become the best. Our coaches are top tier players that have spent years climbing the solo queue ladder to get where they are now, and they're ready to share everything that they've learned with you. You can find the link for our website down in the description box below. Now let's get back into the video, shall we? While not quite as versatile as Riven, Tryndamere is another pick that's really good for climbing the solo queue ladder. The one downside to him compared to Riven is that he really isn't nearly as suited for team fighting. He's pretty kiteable, especially when your ghost is down, but he more than makes up for that with how incredibly oppressive his split pushing is. Plenty of champions are strong in the side lane, but Tryndamere is the king of filling that niche. He shoves waves fast, chops towers in seconds, and has to spin for getting away from a collapsing enemy team or just spinning in and killing everybody. Once you reach 3 items or so, you can often dive the opponent that is trying to hold towers against you. But if they're too beefy, there's an easy solution. Instead of just hanging around near the tower and waiting for the enemy team to come to you, you should immediately head into the enemy jungle. Taking away the enemy jungler's camps puts you even further ahead and them further behind. Taking a look now at the jungle, the first pick that we have for you is Diana. The fact that she still isn't seeing any nerfs is pretty surprising to me. Her clear speed is insane. She can duel almost anybody in the role, and she has a giant presence in team fights, providing both engage and a massive nuke to anybody caught out by her ultimate. She just doesn't really have any downsides to her at all. I think one big reason for her success is how many OP items there are to build on her. I personally like the Nashor's Tooth Rush on her, since it gives a much quicker clear and good extended dueling. But the more common build that you see is skipping Nashor's and going straight for Rocket Belt, Sorcerer's Shoes, and Shadow Flame. With all 3 of these items giving Magic Pen, this gives an insane amount of burst, but it doesn't make her a glass cannon. Both Rocket Belt and Shadow Flame gives HP, so it kinda makes her beefy for no reason. If you need it, you can even throw Zhonya's into her build, and you have a champion that can jump into the entire enemy team and one-shot half of them while being unkillable herself. The other jungler that we have for you is Zack. When you think of OP solo carries, tanks usually aren't the first thing that comes to mind, but not all tanks are created equal. Zack is literally created as beefy as any other champion in the class, but he has a lot more than just a big damage soak. If he isn't peeled off the backline, he's also a massive damage threat, more than capable of solo killing any ADC or control mage entirely on his own. Another important factor in his success is that he doesn't take forever to come online. One of the main reasons tanks in the jungle generally don't work out so well is that they don't really do anything early game, and most of them have their power tied to their ultimate. That's why you see champions like Sejuani, Malphite, and Sion just sort of flop around in the role at the moment. With strong early game presence once you have points in his E, Zack is able to have comparable presence to any other early game focused picks, while also being infinitely more useful later in 5v5s. Now for the mid lane, the first champion that we have for you is Ahri. We knew the change to her ultimate would be huge for her, but it exceeded our expectations, and I can pretty confidently say that Ahri is the best mid in the game at the moment. Most mid laners have to make some choices. You either get a lot of burst and pick potential or good poke and wave clear. Well, Ahri brings it all. She can safely lane against other champions in the game, lacking any definitive hard counters. You can be defensive, aggressive, reactive, or proactive and still be successful. Her builds are also quite flexible. The one that we gave you is the standard one for high burst and one-shotting carries, but you can also go with Liandry's and Cosmic Drive to rotate through spells quickly. Or if you just want better playmaking and pick potential to work with your team, go for Everfrost and never miss your charm again. The other mid laner that we have for you is Akshan. If you like to have a lot of early game presence and force plays to get your team ahead, he's probably the champion for you. He's super lane dominant with all the tools that you need to win both short trades and all-ins, so he can deal with any type of lane opponent that you end up against. You can use that lane dominance to shove in your foe, and then look to roam and assist your jungler, and make the enemy jungle on your own, or roam and gank for your side lanes. Once you get a lead with Akshan, you can snowball pretty fast, and he becomes more of an assassin than a marksman. As far as his build goes, the one that we gave you is the best for raw damage, but if you're dealing with some bursty AP champions, you can swap up your items. Replace your core with Shield Bow, Witsand, and Ginsu's, and even pick up Merc Treads if you need them. Moving things down to the bot lane, the first carry that we have for you is Jhin. When it comes to a super lane dominant ADC, Jhin is by far the best. If you aren't used to him, he may feel a little bit awkward to use, but tit for tat, he dishes out a lot more damage than any other marksman. That said, his early extended fights are pretty bad, so keep his trades brief, specifically looking for them when you have your Q and your 4th shot available to really check out your foe. You can look for all-in fights later on, once you have some items. I don't mean to change the subject so suddenly, but when looking up stuff for this video, I came across a post about some removed and reworked items than runes. And honestly, I miss a lot of them. Don't get me wrong, they got taken away for good reason, but still. That brings us to today's question of the day. What reworked or removed item or rune do you want back in League? For me, it's the old Presence of Mind. I never saw anybody take it, but I swear it was insanely sleeper OP. Getting back your ult's cooldown a la Axiom Mark was pretty OP for snowballing. And since it wasn't bound to an expensive item that had AD and lethality on it, you could even take it on literally anybody. But that's just my opinion and we want to hear it from you, so sound out in the comments below. Now without further ado, let's get back to business. The other ADC that we have for you is Twitch. Compared to the other hyper carries, Twitch has some of the best playmaking in the game, making him a really good pick for our solo carries. Most other hyper carries need a supporting cast. Frontliners hold the enemy team back, and supports to peel and buff them. But with Twitch, you can use his stealth to turn him into an assassin, looking for picks on enemies even during the laning phase. On your first recall, if mid looks vulnerable, take a detour and go for a gank there. You'd be surprised how many people don't expect this. Later into the game, if you see a squishy opponent trying to take farm on their own, you should easily be able to go for the kill. If the enemy team is full of squishies, you can make a core build of Gale Force and Collector over Kraken and Hurricane for an even easier time going for these picks. Later on in team fights, Twitch's immobility isn't as much of a hindrance as with other ADCs. Just use his stealth to find a good position for a fight, and once some of your enemy divers use their cooldowns, let it rip. Alternatively, you can sneak around the fight and find a flank on an enemy backline. When doing this, you can usually kill 1 or 2 of them before anybody even reacts. To round out with our supports, we'll lead off with Senna. When they added a slow to Senna's Q, it was pretty obvious that she was going to become pretty OP. Riot's definitely caught on to this and pretty much immediately sent out some nerfs for her, but the only interesting thing is that they only nerfed ADC Senna. Personally, I'm happy about this, since I think it's the best when Senna is specifically played as a support. But I still think that they should have done something to tone her down at least a little bit. The thing is, the current meta being Enchanter dominated means that in almost all lanes, you're not going to feel very threatened. Even in the toughest of Enchanter lanes, you still have to deal with them poking you as you move up to trade for souls. This lack of threat means that Senna is just too consistently making it to the mid and late game stages with big stacks of souls, and at this point she becomes an untouchable carry. Finishing off our list, we have Blitzcrank. As we've said for months now, Blitzcrank is another champion that's thriving solely because of the Enchanter meta. When laning against 2 squishy champions, hitting either target is basically a guaranteed kill. As a result, your opponents have pretty much no choice but to back off and concede the entire lane. But that's not a solution that shuts down Blitzcrank. Sure, your opponents may not die to you anymore, but that just opens you up to roam and affect the rest of the map. Ask any mid laner out there. The one thing more tilting than being camped by the enemy jungler is when the enemy support gets added into that mix. And that wraps up our things for the 10 best solo carries patch 12.4 edition. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure you sub so you never miss out on our meta guides and you're always in the loop on what the best picks are. Remember to let us know what removed or reworked item or rune that you want back in the game down in the comments below. And one last thing, don't forget to check out our Discord in the description box below, where you can go ahead and enter our giveaway, or just hang out and be part of the community. I can't wait to see you guys back in the next video, but until then, you guys know the drill. Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day. Peace.